Hello, tubers. This is Pat Jordan coming to you during rounds of the World Asylum. The first time that this thought came to me was watching a crazed Canadian Mountie ready to use a fire axe to burst into someone's home because they wouldn't let him in. The people in the house wouldn't let him in because they had a scheduled health check having to do with the corona pandemic that involved only the health kill people, not the jackbooted thug interloper. They refused to let him in. He got his fire axe just about the time that the people that were living there let the health kill workers in, and he burst in right behind them. What that told me was that below the surface, like that layer of carbon dioxide beneath the surface of a crater lake in a volcano, that once disturbed will rise up out of the crater and then follow the topography down to snuff all life beneath it, was that the Mountie was fucking criminally insane to begin with. The science fiction story Who Goes There was turned into the movie The Thing, the remake being a gruesome but accurate portrayal of real life. So this whole plandemic based around mask porn and viewing your fellow man as an alien that must be destroyed actually unmasked the crazy. Which is to say that the fucking criminally insane goddamn idiots were always there. Putting on a mask actually revealed the mask of those who were wearing a false face of sanity and stability. These, quote, traumatic events weren't some kind of trigger that pushed people over the edge. It wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. It was that all the time these creatures passing for human were fucking nuts to begin with. The opposite day fractal of wearing an external mask let their guard down of putting on their internal mask, for that medical term that I keep repeating, fucking crazy. These previously certifiably insane fuckwits that my spell check likes to offer kiwi fruits as a replacement should have been straitjacketed and left in the oubliette since birth, or at least mercifully buried in the sand at low tide, were instead put in power with weapons by others who were also of that clinical medical diagnosis of fucking nuts. So now the game is so advanced that there is no longer a need to maintain the patina of control over the fact that they were, are, and will remain fucking nuts. I'll have to get you the ICD code on that, but I think it will just be written down as attributable to corona. What I just said is a very elaborate, sophisticated joke on my part, but abso-fucking-lutely true when you see the news stories of those who had psychotic breaks after supposedly contracting the Wuhan weapon. Recently, there was an autistic cop in Manitoba who arrested two elderly people for not wearing masks. I could line item the details, but it would only prolong the explanation that the punk was fucking nuts. And in the old days, a nice round of stocks, pillory, rotten tomatoes thrown at him during the lockdown, thumbscrews, and ending with a good tar and feathering to be run out of town would have solved that. Did you know, by the way, that tar cuts off the air supply to the skin? So that the reason that you ran them out of town wasn't for the embarrassment of being covered in feathers, but because you didn't want the pieces of shit dying in the city limits. The capital laws of New England, 1641, had a strict set of rules. Number 15. If any man shall conspire or attempt any invasion, insurrection, or public rebellion against our commonwealth, or shall endeavor to surprise any town or towns, fort or forts therein, or shall treacherously or presidiously attempt the alteration and subversion of our frame of polity, or government fundamentally, he shall be put to death. That sounds grim, but what does it mean when a police officer claims that he is only doing his job enforcing the public act? Well, for one thing, a municipal cop is not an officer. An officer is elected or appointed. That makes the punk an employee that has been given lethal weapons and trained to be a professional at citizens' arrest. For another thing, neither a governor nor a public health organization can make law. Only a legislature can do that. The executive order by a governor, not under national martial law, cannot make martial law within his own state. Therefore, any mandate/order is a mere request/suggestion. When the elderly couple tried to show the punk cop the printed subsection that actually gave them immunity, the fuck shit wouldn't even look at it. You could tell by the demeanor and body language that the creature was hell-bent on inflicting his own mental disease on the outside world, so that the very thing that was not a law, that he was pretending to uphold and defend, was of no consequence to him. Now, among real human beings with logic, reason, and compassion, they would have at least read the goddamn words and had a discussion on it. But that proves that the creature was not a human being. So the existing laws of the Commonwealth were being subverted by the store as a corporate whole, the store manager as a living being, the police as a corporate whole, the cops as living beings, public health as a corporate whole, the workers in public health as living beings, and the governor as a corporation, and the governor as a living being. These conspiring, treacherous subversions and rebellions against the Commonwealth in New England were to be dealt with by summary execution. Evil dead men and women don't go on to breed the next generation of evil men and women. I'll say it until it's said back to me. We are under lethal inland piracy where insane criminals run the asylum. Enter our beloved Ms. MaGoo in North Carolina. The state of the Tar Heels produced a real zinger who publicly abused Ms. MaGoo. The woman featured here is a candidate to be tarred, feathered, and run out of town to rid us of yet another psychotic unmasked by this pandemic. Our story begins with Ms. MaGoo going into the store that finally had a product that she wanted as a gift for her friend. The item was not available during the Christmas season, which I suspect would be laid at the feet of the pandemic, because any excuse for empty shelves like Russia at the height of its communist efficiency will do. She entered the store without a mask and shopped unchallenged. As she headed towards her car, someone was laying on the horn of another car. Ms. MaGoo went to see what the commotion was, which turned out to be a woman in the passenger side. As Ms. MaGoo told me this story with bemusement because she knew the outcome, I could only guess at what the different directions this could go. My mind thought perhaps the woman was alone and in distress, and so it would be neighborly to check it out to see if she needed help. Ms. MaGoo then asked the woman if she was signaling her. The woman jumped out of the car and shouted, "You fucking cunt! It's goddamn motherfuckers like you that are making me sick!" "What are you talking about?" asked Miss MaGoo. The woman was pulling on her mask during the entire altercation. Ms. MaGoo responded to the visual cue, "I don't have to wear one of those. I got a medical exemption." Because this is about brain-dead, psychopathic, brain-eating zombies, it's important to note that a real human being with real compassion and a modicum of curiosity would have at least made some sympathetic noises for someone that has a medical impairment. But Henrietta Hornblower would not let up, calling Ms. MaGoo foul names. Okay, I, Patrick Jordan, the king of fa where it comes to bad language and even badder attitude, wasn't ready for that. Scratch one up for fucking crazy bitch right out of the cereal box. Ms. MaGoo wore her laminated placard around her neck that day. The card reads, "I am exempt from any ordinance requiring the use of a face mask. Wearing a face mask poses a mental and or physical risk to me. Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, I am not required to disclose any medical conditions. Department of Justice ADA violation reporting number 800-514-0301. Violation of the ADA can incur steep penalties. A fine of $75,000 may be imposed for the initial violation, $150,000 for subsequent violations." The insane psycho bitch approached Ms. MaGoo in an aggressive way, stating that she had diabetes, so she was at risk from such irresponsible behavior as exhibited by Ms. MaGoo. The ravings of the lunatic are amusing in that all the while the woman was raging and spitting out her corona-induced hate into the atmosphere with her mask pulled down. She then pulled her mask up and then continued to approach Ms. MaGoo. By now, the woman's husband had come out of the store and was trying to pull the psychotic spouse back by her arm. She pulled herself away from him repeatedly and then got right into Ms. MaGoo's face. Ms. MaGoo explained to me on the phone that she had an OANN, One American News Network, cable news station bumper sticker on her car that doesn't take a partisan stance to promote or support anybody. Crazy bitch lady said, "Only stupid people would watch that." So that is where you just nod your head and go, oh, even if you don't get it, because Zen Buddhism warns that trying to impose logic on an illogical situation will make you crazy. And there's enough of that already in the world based on the story that I'm relaying. As the woman got close, Ms. MaGoo, being one of my top female heroes, said quite calmly, "You'd better not hit me, or I'll be the last person you'll ever hit." Crazy bitch lady said, "Oh, what I'd like to do is kick you in your vagina until my shoe comes out your mouth." Okay. So Ms. MaGoo was laughing while telling this story, and on the face of it, it's kind of funny in a we're all doomed in hell surrounded by criminally insane fucking idiots kind of way. But I was really appalled. I was appalled that there isn't open season on humans because it said that depopulation is the goal of the controllers. So I can't fathom why harvesting one more soul for Satan would be so restricted. Anyway, this is Ms. MaGoo's story. By this time, another man got out of his Jeep and said, "Calm down, ladies, calm down. Let's just call it a day." Ms. MaGoo said, "I didn't start this." The man said, "I know, but just go ahead and get in your car." By now, the penisless husband was pulling his rabid animal back to her pen, and she shouted, "You're a goddamn fucking bitch! I'm saved because I read the Bible." Jesus Christ. Okay, this is Ms. MaGoo's story, but I can't help editorializing it because religious psychosis is the root of what is wrong with humans or what passes for them. To quote Havelock Ellis, "The whole religious complexion of the modern world is due to the absence from Jerusalem of a lunatic asylum." Ms. MaGoo said, "You read the Bible with that mouth?" Crazy bitch lady said, "Donald Trump is more blasphemous every time he opens his mouth." That cack of insanity might have been in response to the conservative TV station bumper sticker. The whole time Crazy Bitch Lady was yelling and screaming, she was doing the backwards Winston Churchill victory sign to intimate that she meant, "Screw you." This is proof positive that if you wear a mask, thus don't get all the oxygen you need, it will make you crazy, said Ms. MaGoo to me as we solidified the details of this exchange so that I could narrate it for you. The husband, who was wearing a University of Alabama hat, placed his insane asylum patient in their car, turned around with a shit-eating grin on his face and said, "Roll Tide!" to indicate support for the Alabama Crimson Tide sports team. So I asked Ms. MaGoo what that means to her because I don't follow sports or know anything about Southern culture, being a damned Yankee myself, to which she replied, "He's just crazy as a damned loon." I, being a Zen master, just nodded my head and smiled like the Buddha. Ms. MaGoo got in her car, drove home, and then reported this pleasant exchange with her fellow humans to me. The overarching point being, that which a third grader could grasp from my video Mr. Potato Ass, where the mask manufacturers themselves say that a face covering will not protect against any disease, coupled with the notion that if these fictitious, social, virtue signaling, hypoxia producing sheep face fucking devices did work, then why would anyone in their right mind, key hashtag there, feel threatened? The same goes for the lunatic hysteria over polluting everyone with vaccines to protect a fictitious few from catching most diseases that are at best mild discomforts. Which then draws a circle around our third grade math Venn diagram around all these points of cackling madness, with the Bible as the master set to ask, if she's protected as a Bible believer, then why is she concerned about her own physical health, let alone anyone else's? And why didn't God or the Bible cure her diabetes or prevent corona? Or, bottom line, corona crazy, Bible crazy, politics crazy. 3 strikes, you're out. Creatures like that should be quarantined because the sum total of my life's work is that evil and crazy are indeed viral pathogens. Therefore, just like cancer, they are contagious disease. No matter how many times you have watched the video of the caterpillar being taken over by the wasp grubs, watch it again! This version of the video linked below states quite clearly that it is a virus that enters the caterpillar host when the wasp injected her eggs, that takes over the brain of the caterpillar to make it defend the emerging grubs from any outside threat, even though the grubs killed the caterpillar. If that doesn't describe crazy bitch lady, then you need to find a brain transplant. Love me some Ms. MaGoo, hate the rest of the world, looking for a good cometary shower that is impactful enough to get the deep underground bases to wipe out the source of this infection. This is Pat Jordan signing off, reminding the gentle listener that the zombie apocalypse isn't coming. You're soaking in it. Cheers, and duck incoming!